Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. WowMax1 bringing another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to be doing another champion guide on a champ whose value has recently surged after the introduction of a certain legendary dog. I am of course talking about the HP-based Force Affinity champion from the Oryx faction, Packmaster Shy'ek. Today I'll be breaking down his kit, showing you different ways to build him in PvE and PvP, and finally doing an arena and Doom Tower hard showcase. So with that, let's get into it. So Packmaster Shy'ek was released as the Fusion in June of 2024 and was later made available again as a reward from a Path event. Now we in the community waited patiently for Shy'ek to receive the legendary dog that Plarium promised as a damage dealer to truly unlock Shy'ek's kit. Shy'ek is a synergy-based champion whose kit, while good on its own, is all about making sure that he gets paired up with a dog, especially a good one, good damage dealer, in order to get the most out of him. So now with the release of Kro'khad the Throatripper, Shy'ek and Kro'khad together make up a synergy that is excelling in virtually every part of the game, especially wave-based content and Hydra. So with that, let's take a look at his kit and see what makes him so special. Starting off with his A1, Kill Command. Attacks one enemy, has a 50, booking up to 70% chance of placing a big decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, then teams up with any allied dogs on the same team, including Kro'khad the Throatripper, and they will use their default skills. So think of this as a Mikage A1 paired up with a Toshiro or a Ninja or an Oboro or something like that. This essentially becomes the A1 of the damage dealer dog that he's paired up with. So very powerful. The fact that it has a 70% chance, 75 with the Sniper Mastery, of landing one of the best, arguably, damage increasing debuff in the entire game makes this a very, very powerful A1. Looking now at his A2, Pack Alpha. Removes all debuffs from Shy'ek, heals him by 50% of his max HP, that's a big heal, then places a shield buff on him for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to any surplus heal. The shield is protected if he's with at least one dog. Finally places Taunt and a big reflect damage buff on him for 2 turns as well, which are also protected. 5 turn, booking down to a 3 turn cooldown. This makes him an excellent candidate as a mischief tank. Now, Taunt used to be absolutely broken in Hydra. Unfortunately, they changed it. So now all that this would do is give you 2 fairly unique buffs that would pretty well ensure that he's going to be an easy mischief tank. The fact that if he's going to be paired up with any dog, these become protected, makes him even more desirable of a candidate as a mischief tank. This is also great in any wave-based content, faction wars, and even PvP. This is a really good A2. Looking now at his A3, Bloodhowl. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 25%. Also has an 80 booking up to 100% chance of placing block buffs on all enemies for 2 turns. Cannot be resisted if he is with a dog. And 4 turns, booking down to 3 turn cooldown. So just the turn meter fill on a 3 turn cooldown with block buffs on its own, excellent. The fact that it cannot be resisted if he is with another dog is really good. And the fact that this is a place block buffs that is not based on an attack. That means that he can even put up block buffs through Poison Cloud. That is such a powerful ability for Hydra. And the fact that it becomes effectively affinity neutral means this is one of the best block buff skills in the entire game for Hydra. Finally, looking at his passive, We Hunt as 1. When attacked, places a Hex debuff on the attacker for 1 turn. Ally attacks on targets under Hex placed by this champion will deal 20% more damage. In addition, whenever Shy'ek is attacked, all dogs on the same team will counterattack. So let's break this down piece by piece here. So he will be placing Hex anytime that he is hit. There's no percentage on that. He just needs to have enough accuracy, and he will be placing the Hex. Really good to make sure that you can decapitate heads with this, because that 20% damage boost, if you have another dog on the team, they're going to automatically get that when they counterattack, assuming that he's placed it on the head. The only problem with this is that decapitated heads cannot attack Shy'ek, which means that he will not be able, using this passive, to put Hex on decapitated heads, which is where you often want it, especially for that 20% feral-like damage boost right there. So you may have to, if you really want to use him as your only Hexer, also put him in a cursed set and hope that Kill Command has a chance to put Hex on a decapitated head, or you're going to have to sacrifice that 20% damage boost at times and pair him up with another Hexer. So it's still really good for getting heads decapitated, but not as good or reliable as a traditional AoE Hex placer like somebody like a Mad Hatter, for example. The second part of this is amazing. He should pretty much always be paired up with a dog. If he's with Kro'khad, Kro'khad has additional synergies when it comes to counterattacking, so this is a fantastic passive. Looking finally at his aura, 19% ally in speed in all battles, really good, and he's going to be used in a lot of different areas in the game, so having an all areas speed aura is definitely the way to go for Shy'ek. Looking now at his total stats, we see 22.3k HP, very solid for an HP-based champion. Attack doesn't matter, 1.2k defense between the HP and the defense. No trouble keeping this guy alive at all. Under 100 speed, not ideal. You'd like to see him to have at least 100 being a legendary champion. However, he does bring a lot of passive benefits for your team and turn meter fill as well, so a little bit less of a concern there. The rest is pretty standard. So when it comes to building your Shy'ek, you're going to want to make sure that he has enough accuracy, especially if you're going to be looking to make use of that decreased defense or the hex. And if you're pairing him with a dog, obviously you don't need it for the block buffs. You want to make sure he has a good amount of HP on him, very survivable. It's also going to make his shield that much better. And finally, you're going to want to make sure that he is fast. You do want him taking a lot of turns. Any turns that he's going to be taking are going to be useful. Paired up with Kro'khad, his A1 becomes Kro'khad's A1, and then his A3 is just going to be straight turn meter fill, so he's going to do a good job of ramping your team with that A3 and putting out more damage with the A1. So when it comes to building your Packmaster Shy'ek, the recommendations that I'm going to have for gear are going to vary a little bit depending on where you're going to be planning on using him. I think most accounts are going to be planning on using Shy'ek in PvE. Shy'ek plus Kro'khad, that combination, while it's not going to be competitive with your Titus teams or your Trunda teams in Hydra, it is potentially one of the best 2-champ slots that you can put in to virtually any team and make it better for Hydra. The two of them together, they bring block buffs, turn meter fill, counterattacks, tons of damage. The Devour freeing mechanic from Kro'khad, there is so much synergy between those two champions that I think unless you have tentacles and swim on the bottom of the ocean and have 3 Trunda teams, I think most accounts in the game, if you have a Shy'ek and a Kro'khad and are able to build both effectively, will be slotting them in on a Hydra team in either Brutal, Hard, or Nightmare. So for PvE, the 2 sets that I'm going to recommend in order to get the most out of Shy'ek, especially when paired with Kro'khad, are going to be either to go and put him in a Cursed set or to put him in a Relentless set. And here's my reasoning for it. So currently, Shy'ek has a really good 20% damage boost whenever he places Hex on a target. Now, in order to place Hex, unfortunately, the target has to be hitting Shy'ek. So if we're talking about decapitated heads, he's obviously not going to be placing any Hex on them using this passive. However, if you put him in a Cursed set, then he has a 50% shot to be placing Hex using Kill Command, his A1. Now, it is only a single target, and it is only a 50% shot to do so. And when it is placed, you're going to be having Kro'khad and the rest of your team dealing 20% more damage to that decapitated or head or whatever target it might be. So 50% chance at 20% more damage. And then obviously there's the splash damage component. So this could be one of the best sets depending on how much luck you have on your side, right? So it's a coin flip every time to do 20% more damage. But again, the biggest hits you get are going to be on those decapitated heads. So this could be an option. If he had an AoE ability on his kit, I would unquestionably say that this is very competitive for the best. But in my opinion, far better than that is going to be putting him in a Relentless set. Now, most of the time on Hydra, since it does have a 1,000 turn limit, you don't want to be putting your support champions, ideally, in Relentless because they're going to be eating up turns that your damage dealers could be taking to do more damage. But with Relentless on Shy'ek, he becomes a damage dealer. His kill command is then shared with Kro'khad. So Kro'khad is going to be going in and doing his A1 every time that Shy'ek's going to be doing his A1. It means more turn meter fill for your team. It means more heals for Shy'ek. It's such a good set to have on him. So I think that this is arguably more useful to have than 50% chance at 20% more damage using the Cursed set for Shy'ek in Hydra specifically. It's a very specific and it takes a lot of luck. I think that getting an extra turn on him is far more valuable. So putting him in a Relentless set I think is going to be really, really good just because it maximizes that interaction between him and Kro'khad specifically. Now, if you don't have a legendary dog to pair up with him, then I would recommend going with something like a Reflex or a reflex plus merciless, something that'll get his A2 and his A3, more importantly, off cooldown faster. In that case, taking more A1s doesn't matter as much. So those are all going to be fine options. You can pair that up with speed or something that's going to make him a little tankier, like Mortal. Any one of those is going to be fine to pair up. But I think that Cursed and Relentless are going to be the two most competitive when it comes to Hydra specifically and a lot of PvE content. Now, if you don't have a Relentless set or a Cursed set to put on your Shy'ek, then of course you can just put him in 6 pieces of speed or 6 pieces of perception, and you're going to do just fine. He really wants to have HP, speed, and accuracy in order to be the most effective, so any of those are going to be good. If, however, you're going for PvP, in today's meta, having Stone Skin is almost indispensable. It is so easy to have your turn meter pushback, have crowd control placed on you, or be one-shot. There are some very busted champs out there, so making sure you have Stone Skin on your Shy'ek is going to give him a little bit more survivability and ensure that he's going to stay on the field longer, which means more counterattacks for hopefully whatever legendary dog you pair with him. As of the filming of this video, only Kro'khad exists, but Kro'khad plus Shy'ek, if you have Shy'ek under 2 turns Stone Skin, that is probably the best set that you can put him in for PvP specifically. And if you want to have it be more of a hybrid, you can do 1 turn Stone Skin mixed with Relentless. That's going to be great in PvP and PvE. That would be my #1 choice if I were to be building a Shy'ek for all areas of the game. When it comes to my Shy'ek, I have him optimized for PvE and Hydra specifically. So I have mine in 4-piece Relentless, 2-piece Perception, and 2-piece Pinpoint from the accessories just for more speed and accuracy. For my total stats, I'm looking at 83.8k HP, 2.5k defense, 300 speed, and 488 accuracy. Now, the reason that I have that much is because I also am going to be trying him out in Chimera. So this is optimized for both Chimera and for Hydra. If this was purely for Hydra, I could easily drop this significantly. Now, for individual pieces, we're looking at HP Ring, HP Amulet, Accuracy Banner, HP Gloves, Accuracy or HP, depending on what you need, Chest Piece, Speed Boots, and the stats that you just saw. For my Relic on Shy'ek, I'm using a Perched Shadow. This is for the same reason that I'm going to be using Relentless on him. Perched Shadow gives me an opportunity to take an extra turn when I'm using my A1 and I have another skill on cooldown. So in Hydra, for example, you could literally just be cycling between Shy'ek's A1 and his A3 if you wanted to. If you're not going to be using him as a mischief tank, for example, you can completely ignore his A2 and just be going between those two, ramping your team for more A1s from your Kro'khad. Really great, and it's also got HP as a primary stat. This is probably, I think, his best relic in terms of value, especially when it comes to Hydra. Now, if you don't have a Perched Shadow and you're wondering what else you can use on him, there's plenty of relics out there that are going to give him some kind of benefit and value. So he does bring you turn meter fill. So if you have a Journal of Necrotos, that could easily be something that you throw on him if you want to give him more value out of that turn meter. If you're going to be bringing him to Arena, Wand of Submission, probably the best relic that you can put on him. There are so many shape polymorphs and crowd controls out there. Sending those back to where they came from is very satisfying, and this is a really great ability to have in PvP specifically. If you are missing accuracy on anything, you can throw him in a Molten Death Bell, a nice budget relic to have on him. But again, for me, when it comes to just the most value possible, I think nothing can really beat Perched Shadow, specifically for PvE. Now, my Shy'ek is not awakened, but when I do get a blessing for him, for PvP, I would be going for Lightning Cage. And for PvE, I would either be going with Intimidating Presence, since he does have a nice speed aura and probably is going to be a speed aura in some of the teams that you're going to be putting him in, or you could argue for Cruelty. Now, he only does have 1 attack in his whole kit, and it is a single target. Absolutely hear you on that, but the one thing that happens right after he goes with his A1, assuming you have Kro'khad or another dog, is there's an immediate ally attack follow-up. So reducing the defense of whatever target he's going for first with Cruelty is actually valuable and does add damage. So for Shy'ek's Masteries, decided to go down the support tree and pick up Eagle Eye for that extra accuracy to make sure that he has enough accuracy for all content that I want to run him in. Master Hexes are helpful. He does put debuffs on, making sure they're getting on for longer duration is nice. He also has his own buffs that he puts on, so I went with Lasting Gifts. HP, great on him. Bigger shields, really good. Went down the defense tree and just to make him more tanky. Healing himself when enemies heal, less AoE damage. Counterattacks, we love counterattacks on him because counterattacks with Kro'khad on the same team mean that Kro'khad's going to be counterattacking, so this also ramps up his damage. I could potentially also decide to drop Lasting Gifts and come over and pick up the turrets just for even more chance at a counterattack, especially if I was going to be going into PvP with him. And if you don't want to go down and pick up accuracy, or you already happen to have enough, you can always come down the offense tree and pick up Warmaster for a little bit more damage with his A1 on bosses. For the first arena showcase in today's video, we're going to be going up against a team of Arbiter, Pythion, Cardiel, and Wukong. The team we've built around Shy'ek features the currently, as of the filming of this video, best available dog to pair up with Shy'ek, and that is Kro'khad the Throatripper, and Korra there to keep all the nasty debuffs off of Kro'khad, and finally UDK to keep the team alive, because neither Shy'ek nor Kro'khad are currently in Stone Skin because they're optimized for Hydra. So with that, let's go in and see what they can do. What I'm hoping happens here is that we see an AoE coming from the opposing team that is going to trigger a counterattack from Kro'khad, as we just saw there, and that pretty much just destroyed their team. Nobody on their team is in Stone Skin except the Pythion, who just revived everybody. All right, let's go in with the A2 from Kro'khad. Very solid damage there. Let's go in with another ally attack. Another one getting triggered there. Okay, now we're just going to use the A3 here in a moment. Go ahead and shield up. Okay, triggering another one there. And you know what? Let's just go in with another one. Why not? Okay, now we're going to go with the double hitting, hard hitting A3, and it is over. So this is exactly what I was talking about earlier when we were looking at builds for Shy'ek and why 2-turn Stone Skin is so powerful for him when paired up with a really hard-hitting dog in this case. So you can build him a little bit slower and ensure that he's getting hits on him, and then he's just going to absolutely tear apart the opposing team with those counterattacks synergy with Kro'khad. It's just so powerful. Can actually be a really fast team too, if you want it to be, but other than Shy'ek, of course, but in terms of just getting your dailies done, grinding out your classic arena for the day, very powerful. As you see here, just tearing through the teams. All right, let's see if they're going to even get a hit off. I don't think so. I think that's all she wrote. Yep, okay. Let's try to get a little bit of a tougher team now. I'd like to see... this one might work out pretty well, actually. We've got a Warlord there. We've got a Mortu, who's going to be hopefully blocked by the UDK. Let's see this one. And we have Duchess there that's going to reduce the damage from Kro'khad. So, all right, this should be a pretty good showcase. A little bit lengthy, more lengthy, hopefully. All right, let's go with block buffs. Oh, we're just outspeeding them. This could be pretty brutal. Okay, there we go. All right, so they do have some staying power. Let's see what they can do. Somebody didn't properly set up the AI on their Warlord, unfortunately. They should have set up his A3 as his priority skill. Otherwise, Warlord will prioritize that A2, which is just a heal and block debuffs and shield. What are you going to do? Here we go. That's the match. For the last team in today's showcase, we're going to be going for Arbiter, Crixia, Inithway, and Necrit. And we are using the same team as before. So let's see. This is a much more competent PvP team right here. So let's take a look at what we got. AoE coming in from Crixia takes out Inithway and Crixia with the counterattack from Kro'khad triggered by Shy'ek. We're going to be whittling down that Inithway. Everything's on cooldown, but our A1 is still going to do devastating damage to their team because of Kro'khad, taking out their damage dealer, causing counterattacks. AoE coming in from the Arbiter, big mistake. A1 coming in from Kro'khad. So in this case, it's really easy to see why these two champs in particular are great in arena with all of the decrease or increased skill cooldown champions out there, right? You have your Fabians, your Crixias, all those champions, while still very disruptive, with a team like this that has really powerful AoE auto attacks, essentially, it's much less impactful for the opposing team to lock out my skills. So much less of a concern. Why not? Let's start. Good, it got through. Auto attack coming in. Just about broke the stone skin there. Nice hit coming in with an extra hex placed there from Shy'ek's passive. Let's go ahead and turn meter boost and use the hard-hitting A3. Almost 300k, and there would have been a second hit if that one hadn't done its job. So there you have it. Solid team here. Non-optimized PvP team on our part, but the synergy just so powerful, especially with that counterattack from that passive. For the Doom Tower Hard Showcase, in today's video, we're going to be going into the Dark Fade Doom Tower. We're still on our way clearing to the top of it, but we're going to be going in on the 57th floor. Team should look familiar from the Arena Showcase. Everybody except adding Lydia there as well for those damage debuffs. We're going to be going in on auto against the teams, and we're going to be talking through and seeing how the synergy between Shy'ek and Kro'khad is going to clear these waves for us. So Lydia going in first. Then we have the A2 from Kro'khad. Tons of damage, obviously, clearing that with ease. Now we have an extra turn proccing there from another one. So this is why we like the Relentless set. We have two A1s coming in from Shy'ek, triggering A1s from Kro'khad because of the synergy, virtually clearing the wave on their own, and then still being able to go in for the speed boost, or the turn meter fill, rather. We have the counterattack there from the hit on Shy'ek. Another A1 coming in from Kro'khad based off of Shy'ek's A1. Again, that interaction in wave-based content and in Arena and Hydra is absolutely ridiculous. So much damage coming out just from these two champions' A1s. So obviously a ton of damage coming out of Kro'khad right there, but we saw the use of that Relentless set in triggering multiple A1s and still being able to put up block buffs and doing the turn meter fill. And then obviously we saw the counterattack A1 damage from Kro'khad coming in. These two are absolute monsters when it comes to Waveclear. And there you have it, everybody. Packmaster Shy'ek, good champion on his own. And if you happen to have Kro'khad or another good dog that you can pair with him, he becomes an absolute force of nature in Raid Shadow Legends. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider liking and subscribing for more content like this in the future. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any other guides or showcases that you'd like to see on the channel. Thank you for watching today's video. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.